everybody, and welcome to Stellar Parenting with Brandi. Coming to you live from Houston, Texas. I am Brandi Kahn, and I am an intuitive astrologer. I also work with healing, Reiki, that sort of thing as well. I hold a Master of Science degree in psychology with an emphasis in child and adolescent development. So, my mission is to use this show to teach people how to combine the magic of the stars and the planets, excuse me, to combine the magic of the stars and the planets with the art of raising children in a conscious way. You can find me at brandycon.com. That's Brandi with an I, and Con is Khan. And if you'd like to join my Facebook group so that you can be a caller on the show, that Facebook group is Psychology Infused Astrology. Now, for today's show, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the lunar eclipse that's happening on September 17th or 18th, depending upon where you are located. And I will also be telling you how you can support your child during this lunar eclipse because, eclipses tend to be really emotional times, and some people feel them more than others. So we'll do that. And we'll also have a caller towards the end of the show who sent me the natal chart information for her son and her daughter. And I'll tell her exactly what I think about their charts. So let's go ahead and get started. So on or around September 17th, we will have a lunar eclipse. And this lunar eclipse will be in the sign of Pisces at 25 degrees. Okay. And so that's going to activate the Pisces Virgo axis of your chart. And depending upon if you've got planets, aspects, angles in that location or aspected from that area, then you may experience change, transition coming up in your life from this eclipse. But first, what I want to do, I want to break down the practical side of the lunar eclipse for you and just tell you exactly what it is. So, a lunar eclipse will always occur during a full moon. And during a full moon, you've got the sun and the moon that are 180 degrees across from each other. So it's like they're having a face off. And then during the lunar eclipse, it's like the earth inserts herself in between the two, and earth blocks the light from the sun and prevents it from reaching the moon. So even though the moon in astrology is referred to as a luminary, the moon does not produce any light of her own. She only reflects the light from the sun. So then when the earth blocks this light, it's almost as if the moon disappears from the sky. So a lunar eclipse can be like a full moon on steroids. It can be like 3 or 4 full moons in one. It's full of energy. And there's the huge potential for changes. There's the potential for transition, endings, and culmination in our lives. What I love most about full moons is that they can be like illuminators. And as illuminators, they can give you valuable information that you did not have access to before. And once you have access to that information, it allows you to make a decision about where do I need to go in life? Is there something that I need to change? Or is there something that I need to focus on? So that's everything about lunar eclipses. Now, not everybody is going to be affected to the same extent by this lunar eclipse. What you want to remember is if you have placements in your chart that are in aspect to 25 degrees of Pisces, then you will experience this lunar eclipse at a much deeper level than, say, someone who does not have anything that's aspected. So what's very helpful, it would be really helpful if you took a look at your natal chart. And if you don't already have one printed out or you don't have it available, I can tell you exactly what you need to do. So you want to go online and you want to go to a natal chart generator, and you can go to my website. I've got one on my website. So you can go to brandycon.com And once you get there, you'll see the menu at the top. You want to click on astrology. And when you click on astrology, there is a drop down menu, and one of the options is to create your own natal chart. So once you click on that button, there's going to be a page that comes up that asks you for your information. So you're going to need your date of birth. You will need your exact time of birth that is listed on your birth certificate. And you will need the location of your birth as well. So when you put all of that into the generator, I want you to click on the create your chart button. Okay. And then from there, a screen pops up. You'll get this beautiful, lovely image of your natal chart at the top. And then listed underneath will be the planets in your chart, the degrees where they are stationed, and the signs. So I want you to look, once you've got that, look for 25 degrees of Pisces. See if you have any planets at 25 degrees of Pisces ±3 in either direction. So like 21, 22 Pisces or 28, 29 Pisces. Okay. So that's what you want to look for. So let's say, for example, that you have your moon at 23 degrees of Pisces. Okay. And this lunar eclipse is going to be right there activating your moon. So that means that there may be themes of emotions or lessons about emotions, home, or even the relationship with your mother that could be activated at this time by the lunar eclipse. Okay. So that's what you want to do when you go to the natal chart generator. And I also want you to take note of what area in your life, where is the lunar eclipse taking place? And the way that you will be able to figure that out is if you see what house is this happening, is this occurring in? Where do I have 25 degrees of Pisces? What house is this? And that'll tell you, that'll give you a little bit more information about where the change or the transition could be coming in your life. Okay. And change is not always a bad thing. We hear change and sometimes we freak out, we get nervous, but all in all, change can be something that's very, very good and takes you to the next level. So let's imagine, for example, that you've got a natal chart, you've got 25 degrees of Pisces in the 10th house of career and public reputation. So after the lunar eclipse or during the lunar eclipse, even a few weeks before, there might be a change coming in regard to your job or your career. So maybe you get a promotion and you are leaving the role that you've been at for years. So it's almost like, oh, well, a point where you're saying goodbye to go on and take on something new. Or maybe you've got 25 degrees of Pisces in your fourth house of home and family. And you and your family decide you guys are going to sell the house and you're going to move to another location. So there's almost this feeling of saying goodbye to the place where you've been living for the last few years and saying goodbye to the neighbors and moving on to a new experience. So that's just a couple examples of how this can show up or how this can manifest in your life. Okay. And keep in mind, um, change is not always a bad thing. Change can be a very, very positive thing. And whenever there is change, things tend to go easier if we can lean into the change and if we can go with the flow and not be resistant and stagnant to the change. All right. So I also want you to take note as well. In addition to the 25 degrees of Pisces that you're looking for in your natal chart, plus or minus a few degrees on either side, also notice if you've got anything around 25 degrees of Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius. If you've got any planets, points, angles in those locations, those planets are also going to be activated as well. And the themes that those planets represent will be activated in your life as well during this time. So you can also, this is very interesting, you can check your child's natal chart as well to see if they have any significant placements that will align with the lunar eclipse. Now, for very young children, and I would say those younger than 16, 17, what tends to happen with the natal chart is a lot of the patterns that we see within the natal chart, they are acted out externally, like in the external environment of the child. And then the child usually ends up taking on these behaviors at a later point in life. So if you've got a very young child who's got some placements that are being activated by the eclipse, that might give you a clue, more clues about upcoming changes coming for you and your family as well. Now, when it comes to change for children, change can feel really destabilizing to some extent. And excuse me, big changes usually can come with a sense of big emotions and big feelings. So, for example, let's say that your family, you guys are moving to another location. That's a really big change if you have children, and that change could stir up a lot of emotion within them. And during the time of this lunar eclipse, excuse me, it could seem almost as if it's intensified to a certain extent. So, a huge part of building a sense of secure attachment with your children is giving them the message that it is safe for them to open up to you about their feelings. It's safe for them to share what's going on inside with you, their parent. And when children feel safe within their bodies, then we have their autonomic nervous system will go into a state of ventral vagal activation. And that state is marked by feeling at ease, feeling empowered, and feeling connected to the people around them. And that's the sense of safety. That's what we want to create for our children. So remember that your children will internalize the messages that you send to them. So if you give them the impression that, you really don't have time to listen to what they're saying, or that you really don't want to hear what they're saying, they will pick up on that. They'll pick up on it very, very well. Okay. And that may be one of the things that defines their relationship with you. Okay. So we want to give our children that sense of safety, that sense of, I accept you lovingly no matter what. All your feelings are safe with me. You can talk to me. You can come to me at any time with anything. So we don't want to dismiss, minimize, blame, or shame our children for what they are feeling. Because if we do that, we will prevent them from showing us who they are in a very authentic and genuine way. And that's the goal of what we're trying to reach. That's the goal of what we're trying to get to. When our children feel safe, then their social engagement behaviors unfold naturally. And then the fight, flight, freeze, all of that, it takes a back seat because they don't need it anymore. They feel safe within our presence. So if you'd like a little bit of assistance with that, if you'd like help custom designing a parenting approach, especially for your child, I do have a 5-week program called the Stellar Parent Method. And you can find information about that on my website at brandycon.com. You click on the astrology link, and then it should come up. There's a page that comes up. But in that program, I am taking you, it's you and me. These are private sessions where I'm walking you through not only your child's natal chart, but I'm walking you through your natal chart as well. And we are also exploring, well, how do the two of you complement each other? Let's compare the natal charts. Let's see where the contrast is. Let's see where there are potential areas of difficulty where we may need to soften things. Okay. So that's the whole point with the program, is really to dismiss the one size fits all parenting approach that's so common, and individualize, tailor your approach to your child depending upon how they are wired. Okay, so now we have a caller. I have a caller who sent in information about her son and her daughter, and we will speak to her now. I'll tell her what my impression is from their natal charts. So let's see. Dave, do we have our caller ready? Okay, great. Hi, Tori.
Hi, Brandi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being a caller on the show today. You did send me the information for your son and for your daughter, and I had a chance to look at their natal charts. So, is it okay with you if I just, give you my impression of what I see?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we'll start off with your daughter. And how old is your daughter again, please?
She's 11.
Okay, she's 11. Okay. So we've got a
Hmm.
dynamic 11-year-old here. And from her chart, I see that she's a Scorpio rising. Her sun is in the
Yes.
sign of Libra, and her moon is in the sign of Gemini. Now, in
Hmm.
astrology, the sun is our heroic feature. It's who we are trying to become, the traits we are trying to embody within our life. So, usually with younger children, they're really acting out and manifesting more of the rising sign, which for your daughter would be Scorpio. Okay.
Mm, okay.
And with that Scorpio rising, she may come across as very quiet and reserved. Is that the way that she comes across typically to other people or how other people perceive her?
Yes, to other people. Hmm.
Okay, to other people. And let me just add here. So the rising sign, that is the angle and the chart that shows how we meet and greet the world, how we interact with the world. That's our meet and greet persona. Okay. So to other
Hmm.
people, many times we come across as our rising sign. So for your daughter, she probably comes across a little quiet and reserved as that Scorpio rising. The thing about Scorpio rising is, even though she might be private. She might, be reserved with others and quiet. But there's a part of her that's able to feel things at a very, very deep level. Have you recognized that about her?
Yes. Yes. I feel like she's very in tune to people's feelings, and she always brings that up when she notices that if someone's feelings have been hurt or it bothers them.
Okay, very good. Very good. And when we talk about the moon in astrology, the moon is all about our feelings, our emotions, our sensitivity, but also how we like to be nurtured and how we like to nurture others. Now, your daughter does have her moon in the air sign of Gemini. Gemini is the sign, ruled by Mercury. It's the sign of the communicator. All right. So there is a
Mm.
part of your daughter, even though we've got that Scorpio rising with people that we're just meeting, the Gemini moon may actually feel more comfortable if she's able to open up to people and to talk about her feelings. Like, so do you recognize that dichotomy here about your daughter?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Once you get to know her, she's a chatterbox.
Exactly, once you get to know her. And so, the moon is the part of us that really only a lot of times will come to the forefront when we have the feeling of being safe, when we perceive our environment as safe, and when we perceive the people around us as being safe. So many times, that moon will only come forward with people that she knows, people that she's comfortable with. Okay.
Hmm.
So I would encourage you to, the way that she might like to be nurtured is through conversation, through being able to talk about her
Mm.
feelings, through being able to open up about what's going on inside. And also, Geminis usually love to try a lot of different things. They tend to be good at different things. So she might have an interest in art, then music, then sports, then dance, you know, as the moon in Gemini. So allow her to explore different areas or avenues as she's growing up to see exactly where she fits or where she feels most at home. Okay.
Okay. And you're spot on with that, with the trying different things, because she's very artistic. She loves
Mhm.
paintings. I actually got her into painting with Bob Ross. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but she loves painting with Bob Ross. So yeah, she loves different type of things like that and trying things. So that's great.
Wonderful, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Now, one thing I did notice in her chart, I noticed that her moon, and we have an asteroid called Chiron, which can be a sensitive spot in the chart. They are in a tense angle to each other. So, one thing that we want to do as she's growing up, we want to teach her that it's okay to receive love. It's okay to receive nurturing from other people because she is worthy just as she is, and that she does
Mm.
not have to work, in order to be loved, or she does not have to work for approval. She deserves it just as she is. Okay. So I want you to be sure as she's growing up to give her that message. Okay.
Mm. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
and then with the moon and Neptune as well, that's a tense aspect. So, and Venus opposition Neptune, that's also another tense aspect. So, what I know is usually like with Venus and Neptune, when we have them in aspect to each other, we've got someone who's very creative, someone who may be artistic, someone who's very sensitive. Okay.
Hmm.
But a lot of times they may get the message that their ideals and values don't make sense, or that their standards are too high, that type of thing. So we want to make sure that we're giving her a healthy narrative of, yes, use your creativity. Yes, dream. Yes, have ideals and goals. And don't let anybody tell you that's too much for you. I don't think you can accomplish that. Okay.
Okay. Okay. That's great advice.
Okay. Yeah, and then one other thing I will say, we've got your son, and how old is he again?
He's 6.
Hey, so we've got a wonderful 6-year-old, Gemini rising, Sun in Pisces, and Moon in Pisces. And I've been
Hmm.
talking during the show about 25 degrees of Pisces, and your son has his sun at 25 degrees of Pisces. So that will be activated during this lunar eclipse. Okay.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah. So as the Gemini rising, he can be a little chatterbox. He can be very communication oriented as he grows up. But with the sun and the moon in Pisces, there's this aspect of sensitivity, a deep, deep level of sensitivity and a deep level of
Very.
emotion that he probably feels. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And so he's got 25 degrees of Pisces, his sun in the 10th house of career. Now, your son is 6. He doesn't have a career, but many times at this age, we see things that happen in the chart acted out in the external environment. So with the sun, a lot of times that points to dad. So it could be that your husband is going to have, promotion at work, a change in career, want to go a new direction as far as work, anything like that over up to the next 6 months. Just watch for that. Okay.
Hmm. Okay. So is that it
Yeah.
correlates to his dad?
Yeah. More than likely, yes, with the sun.
Mm. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
And another thing I'll add, he does, your little boy, his sun in Pisces is in a hard aspect to Mars. So, one of the things we want to make sure, because he's got this Pisces level of sensitivity, that during life, he may get the message from people around him that he's not brave, he's too soft.
Mm.
He feels too deeply or he feels too much and he needs to man up and stop with all of the feelings, and that the world is a dangerous place and you've got to fight for what's yours, right? Those are typical
Right.
messages on Mars when they're in a tense aspect. So, and he might even have a fear of not being seen or perceived as brave, as courageous. Okay. So, one of the things
Mhm.
that we want to give him permission to do as he's growing is the permission, yeah, to be kind and sensitive. It's okay to be kind and sensitive and loving. That's not a character flaw, that's a strength. And
Mhm.
it's also at the same time okay for him to assert himself, for him to be assertive and to say exactly what he needs or what he wants in any given situation. Okay.
Mhm.
Is this making sense for your son? Do you understand this?
Yes, yes. I'm just taking notes. But yes, all of this is making sense
Oh,
and aligning
oh,
to
okay.
who my
Yeah,
son
yeah,
is.
no problem. Yeah, yeah, no problem at all. He's incredibly sensitive. So with the sun and moon and Pisces, there could also be intuitive gifts as well. So he can be
Mhm.
prone, maybe to feeling energy at a really deep level or being able to your son may be the type of person who can, later on in life, he can walk into a room. He doesn't even know what's happened in the room. But like, let's just say there was an argument there before he walks in, and he can walk in and know it. He can feel it. Like he can walk into a room and
Mhm.
feel the energy that's there. It's an incredible level of sensitivity with the sun and moon and Pisces. And one other thing that I'll add with those two Pisces placements, we want to make sure that as far as things like video games, iPad, anything that can be done to the extreme. That even like as a child, while he's younger, we help him to do things in moderation. In moderation,
Mm.
so a certain amount of time for video games or a certain amount of time with the iPad, that type of thing, and that'll make sure that he's not doing something to kind of take himself into another state in a
Mhm.
way that really is unbalanced. Okay.
Gotcha. That's really good to
Yeah.
know because he's crazy about
Yeah.
his games.
Yeah. And so many of the, like, they love YouTube, they love everything. And, they stay on those all the time. Well, thank you so much, Tori, for being with us today. I really appreciate you calling in and thank you for your participation.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Brandy, and good luck with everything.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our show today. So, here closing, I will just remind you again you can find me at brandycon.com. That's Brandy with an I, and Khan is Khan. And if you'd like to be a caller, if you'd like for me to look at your child's natal chart and tell you exactly what I think in the areas where I think you should focus, you can join my Facebook group at Psychology Infused Astrology. Okay. And with that, I hope to see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Have a fabulous week.